What has happened with the human being with the process of evolution is, the human being has broken out of that instinctual process and there is an intelligence which has to function consciously. But functioning consciously means every moment of life is an exploration, which is too scary for a whole lot of people. Going into moments where you're no more within your sense perception, something else is beginning to happen. Anything new happens, your mind is such, it knows only fear. Even if you walk into heaven, you will know only fear because it's something that you do not know. You have conditioned yourself like this. But if you allow it to happen, you will see, you will start experiencing a dimension which is beyond sense perception. Only when your experience of life moves beyond sense perception, then your experience of life is absolute, not in comparison with something else. Then your experience of life has transcended the limitations of the physical. Then you have created an atmosphere to know who the hell you are.
What is the you that can be separated from the physical?
Is it a fact that you gathered your body over a period of time?
It's a fact that this body gathered together over a period of time, and it may be that I emerge as a consequence of that, this feeling of I, as opposed to me doing the gathering.
Tell me, you've been having lunch and dinner or…
Have I been having lunch and dinner?
Yeah.
Yeah, this dynamic accumulation has been eating plenty, yeah.
So what you refer to as my body right now is an accumulation of food. It's a heap of food. Not a pleasant way to describe you, but it is. What you call as my mind, largely in people's experience, is an accumulation of impressions over a period of time.
Agreed.
So, if you have to gather this much of impressions and this much of body, something more fundamental must be there, isn't it?
Houston, Texas is an accumulation of roadways and buildings, but we wouldn't say that Houston was there and then gathered.
You are not a piece of geography. You are not a piece of geography, are you?
Well, I may be exactly that, a physical being. I'll tell you why, from my perspective, that seems like a possibility. It's because we're across the street from the world's largest medical center, and every day there are thousands of people there whose geography is changing because of Alzheimer's or stroke or tumor or traumatic brain injury, and who they are changes. It doesn't seem like there's something fundamental that outlasts damage to the tissue.
See, you're talking about thought and emotion. The biggest mistake we have made is, we have given too much significance to human thought. Whatever you think is only happening from the limited data that you have gathered, yes or no?
Agreed.
Yes. So the data that you and me have gathered, however big we may think it is, in terms of the cosmos, it's minuscule, it's nothing. It's really not of any consequence. So from this minuscule of data that we have gathered, we are generating some thought which could be useful in making our lives, it could be useful in creating a few things, it could be useful fundamentally for our survival and to enhancement of our survival process, all this. But it doesn't give you access to life. Thought and emotion is psychological drama that's happening within you. You can conduct it any way you want. You're talking about somebody had a tumor or Alzheimer's or an accident or something and the drama went wrong. The drama can go wrong even without any of those ailments. You ask people. People's drama goes wrong without any accident or injury or ailment, just like that, drama goes wrong on a daily basis for a lot of people.
We usually give that a name though, something like depression or a psychotic break.
That's a business.
Not one I'm making any money on.
I'm saying there's only this much. Either your faculties are taking instructions from you or they have become compulsive for some reason, all right? Either your body and mind, you can conduct it consciously or it's become compulsive. That's all that's happening. Whether you call it physical ailment or mental ailment, all that's happened is just this, that your fundamental faculties of existence on this planet is your body and your mind. These two things, you have lost grip over them. So it can become this kind of ailment or that kind of ailment or whatever, but fundamentally you have lost charge. That's all that's happened. If your body and your brain took instructions from you, would you create depression? Would you create illness? Would you create anything? You would create highest level of pleasantness for you, isn't it?
We certainly would if there were a separate you that could gain that control.
See, we can come to this like this. There is something called… because I see that you keep referring my brain. If you say my brain, that means it's yours. What is yours can't be you, right?
It's a colloquialism that we use because I need to refer to this one and here. I need to specify which brain I'm talking about.
See, when I say my hand, I know even without my hand, I can still exist. Similarly, if certain parts of the brain are gone, our ability to think and feel the way we were doing it earlier may be gone, but still that person is not gone.
That's the question. So if I lose a little part of my finger, I'm still me, but if I lose a chunk of brain tissue that same size, I can be someone completely different.
No, you're talking about personality. Personality is again an acquired thing.
Beyond personality, I can lose memory, I can lose consciousness, of course, I can lose the ability to perceive reality the way that we do now. I might become colorblind because of a lesion, because of damage to a particular part of my brain. I lose the ability to understand what objects are.
Okay, let's come to this. See, suppose somebody became colorblind because of an injury or whatever that happened to them, unfortunately. That person still knows, I have become colorblind, isn't it? He's still there.
It's true for the person who becomes colorblind, but it's not true for example, a person who is born colorblind. They don't even have a concept that they could be. They don't have a concept of color. So let's take a person who's born blind entirely. They don't even have a concept of vision. So who's the you for them? Do they…
See, even a person who is visually impaired, who's never seen the world around, he still exists within himself. He's as much a man or a woman as anybody else can be. It's just that if all of us were blind, we would be quite a fine society without eyes.
Quite right.
Yes, isn't it? Only because somebody has and I don't have. In comparison, I have a problem. Otherwise, if none of us had eyes, you think we wouldn't have found our way around? We would have. Maybe not the same way, in a different way.
Oh, I totally agree, because in so many dimensions…
There are mammals who are flying by, sound.
Yeah. Well, there are so many dimensions that we are blind to now. So what we call visible light is just a 1/10 trillionth of the electromagnetic spectrum that's out there. We only detect a little bit. In some branches of physics, it seems there might be between 10 to 13 spatial dimensions, not just these three, and yet we're trapped in these.
No, we are moving away from consciousness to perception.
But my point is, we're already blind to most of the world. So I agree with you that, okay, so let's move back to perception.
See, what an individual life is, you cannot disagree that you're life, are you? You're a piece of life, I'm a piece of life, everybody is. What kind of personalities we have acquired, what kind of likes and dislikes we have acquired, what kinds of gods and demons we have acquired, what kinds of other things we've acquired is a social process that's happened to us, cultural and social process. If you were born in a different part of the world, it would be entirely different. Depending upon what we are exposed to, these are impressions that we have taken in, phenomenal amount of impressions. Leaving that aside, let's look at one fundamental. Whatever you gather you can only claim it's mine. You cannot say it's me, isn't it? Whatever you gather.
How do you mean? You mean your body? You say
Anything. I can say, this is my chair. If I sit here every day and then I say, this is me, then there's a problem.
I think there's a possibility that it's exactly what happens, that the stuff that this piece of life can end up controlling becomes me. The reason I think of this as my hand is because it, most of the time, is under the control.
My hand is okay, no problem. My hand is okay, me is the problem.
What did you say, me?
My hand means it belongs to you, no problem with that. When it becomes me, then it leads to a completely distortion of perception.
Okay, I think… So you're talking about identity, what you identify yourself as?
See, the nature of the mind is such, it is looking for some… because human intellect and human intelligence has broken out of a certain bond which was there for every other creature, that they could function like an automated machine through certain instinctual process. What has happened with the human being with the process of evolution is, the human being has broken out of that instinctual process, and there is an intelligence which has to function consciously. But functioning consciously means every moment of life is an exploration, which is too scary for a whole lot of people. So the best thing is identify with something which gives you some sense of what you are. But this some sense of what you are, which you took on based on your social and cultural backgrounds, what you took on, makes sense for your survival process, but not for explorative process. It doesn't explore life, it keeps you sane. It's a good solace, it keeps you… it helps you to sleep well in the night, but it doesn't awaken a different dimension of knowing, it doesn't awaken the possibility of exploring dimensions which are not yet within you. So if this has to happen, the most important thing is to be able to sit here not identified with anything. When I said, it's so hard to remain uneducated in this world, because everybody is busy wanting to teach you something. This is all I did in my life, to remain uneducated, not to be influenced by parents, by family, by religion that's happening around you, culture that's happening around you, education that people are forcing on you, just to be the way creation intended you to be, simply. See, I may not fit into the university milieu, but I'm okay, you know. Just simply the way you were born. Not tangling up your intelligence to any particular thing, either your nationality or your religion or your race or your creed or your family or any kind of identity or your gender or whatever, simply to be able to view your life just as a piece of life. If one does this, then you will see perception will explode in ways that they have not imagined possible.
Does soul exist?
Soul?
Yes.
Whose soul?
And one more, what is the purpose of life?
You're just asking very big questions without understanding the significance of the question. See, when you ask, does soul exist, you're not talking about an academic subject. You're asking, what is the nature of who I am? Or you're saying, I don't know a damn thing about myself, please tell me. Yes? Isn't it? You're asking this very easily because you have not been touched by the pain of ignorance, the pain of not knowing who you are. It has not torn you apart. If it really touches you that you're just living here, doing all kinds of nonsense without knowing the ABC of who you are, it should be very painful, isn't it? That pain has not yet touched you. You're mouthing questions, it's not sunk deep enough. So every day you must remind yourself, at least spend 10 minutes in the morning Just see what an utter idiot you are. You don't know anything about yourself, but you're busy with all kinds of nonsense in your life. Every day, just 10 minutes, remind yourself as intensely as possible your ignorance of yourself. Then slowly the pain will sink. When it becomes so painful that you can't bear it, knowing will not be far away. It's one moment. If I say, yes, you have a soul, what, can you walk better? What use is the soul? Did they put any kind of utility to the soul? These two are useful. That other soul that they're talking about, is it of any use? It's of no use. So don't talk about it. And if I tell you it is there, what does it do to you? If I tell you, no, it doesn't exist, what does it do to you? Nothing, isn't it? Only thing is, the next dinner party that you go, you can entertain people around you talking about the soul. But as far as your existence is concerned, nothing changes, isn't it so? Yes? Nothing at all will change, isn't it? So if you're asking the question, fundamentally you're asking the question, what am I? Who am I? When you are here, are you alive? You're alive. When you're here alive, what is the way to know who you are? Is it not really ridiculous and insane that you must ask me, please tell me, who am I? This is like two psychiatrists were walking on the Kovalam beach one day. One of them looked at the other up and down and said, "You seem okay. How am I?" This is just like that, isn't it? You're sitting here, you're alive, you're existing, and you're asking me, who am I, what am I? Is it not ridiculous? Very ridiculous, isn't it? Only thing is, the majority is with you. That's the only comfort which is not allowed you to know the pain of ignorance. You have a huge majority of people around you who are all saying, yes, this is the way to be. Yes, that is the only thing which has given you some comfort. Suppose you are the only man on the planet who does not know who you are, everybody else knows. You know how it would be for you? Yes? You don't know who you are, you're busy in the world. Does it make any sense? Or does it sound like madness? Insanity, isn't it? But the comfort is, you're in a huge asylum where everybody's like you. So your problem is, your existence itself right now is only in comparison with something else. You have no existence of yourself, please see. Right now, if you don't have something that everybody has nose. Suppose you did not have a nose. Actually, you can breathe better, you know. If you take off your nose, you will get 22% extra oxygen. You will be more healthy, everything will be better. But you know how you will suffer? Because everybody else has a nose. Yes or no? Or if you get something extra that other people don't have, you still suffer, isn't it? Suppose you grew one horn. You know how terrible it would be? But if everybody had a horn, then we would be polishing it and decorating around, you know. Your very existence is in comparison. There is no existence of yourself. Everything is in comparison. So, with that comfort, you're passing off without knowing the pain of not knowing. If you know the pain of not knowing who you are, then if you just see that I don't know anything about myself, tears will come. If it starts tearing you apart, knowing is not far away. It's very simple. It's very, very simple because after all you want to know what is within you, isn't it? Can what is within you be denied to you by anybody or anything? Do you need a passport to go within? Do you need a visa? To turn inward and know what's within, do you need somebody's permission? Or can somebody stop you? Can any authority in the world stop you? No. So who is stopping you? Who could be stopping you? Only yourself. Nobody else but yourself. Nobody else is capable of stopping you, isn't it? So why are you stopping yourself? Simply because you made your whole existence outside of yourself. Your very existence is only in comparison with somebody. Because this has happened to you simply because the very nature of sense organs is like this. Because your experience of life is limited to sense perception, that is the reason why you are existing in comparison with somebody, not by yourself. Because sense organs are like this. If I touch this feels cool to me. This feels cool to me not because of the way the steel rod is, simply because of the way my body temperature is. If I lower my body temperature and touch this would be warm to me. Yes? Is it so? If I lower my body temperature to -100 and touch this would be red hot to me. Is it so? So your very basic experience of life, because it is limited to sense perception, everything is in comparison. So your very existence has become in comparison. If this has to change, philosophies and teachings are not going to change this fundamental reality. If your experience of life transcends the limitations of sense perception, suddenly everything is different. When we initiated you into Shambhavi, if you gave yourself to the process, it could easily take you beyond sense perception. Many of you going into moments where you're no more within your sense perception, something else is beginning to happen. Anything new happens, your mind is such, it knows only fear. Even if you walk into heaven, you will know only fear because it's something that you do not know. You have conditioned yourself like this. But if you allow it to happen, you will see, you will start experiencing a dimension which is beyond sense perception. Only when your experience of life moves beyond sense perception, then your experience of life is absolute, not in comparison with something else. Then your experience of life has transcended the limitations of the physical. Then you have created an atmosphere to know who the hell you are. You better know who the hell you are. Otherwise, anything that you do is of no consequence.
Exploring the question, who am I, dwells into the realm of identity, self-concept and existential inquiry. Here are few prominent theories that attempt to answer this profound question. Self-perception theory by Daryl Bem. Daryl Bem's self-perception theory suggests that individuals infer their own attitudes and beliefs by observing their own behavior in a manner similar to how they evaluate others. This theory proposes that people don't always have direct access to their inner states as they infer their own attitudes and emotions by observing their behavior in a given situation. For instance, if someone finds themselves laughing while watching a comedy movie, they may infer that they find the movie funny and thus have a positive attitude towards it. Social identity theory by Henry Tajfel and John Turner. Social identity theory explores how individuals define themselves and derive their identity from their group memberships. Tajfel and Turner propose that individuals categorize themselves and others into social groups and their self-concept is influenced by the social identities they hold. People tend to favor their in-group, the group they belong to, over out-groups, those they do not belong to, leading to in-group bias and sometimes inter-group conflicts. Multiple intelligence theory by Howard Gardner. Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligence suggests that intelligence is not a singular entity but rather a collection of distinct modalities or abilities. Gardner proposed several types of intelligences, including linguistic, logical, mathematical, spatial, bodily kinesthetic, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and naturalistic intelligences. According to this theory, individuals possess varying degree of each intelligence and their self-concept may be influenced by the types of intelligences they excel in or value the most. Advaita Vedanta, non-dualistic perspective of Adi Shankaracharya. Adi Shankaracharya's teachings revolve around the principle of Advaita, which means not two or duality. According to Advaita Vedanta, the ultimate reality, Brahman, is invisible, infinite and devoid of any distinctions or attributes. Shankaracharya emphasized the concept of neti neti, not this, to neglect all finite aspects of existence, leading to realization of the formless, transcendent Brahman as the true nature of the self, Atman. He taught that ignorance, avidya, of one's true nature of Brahman leads to the illusion of duality and the cycle of suffering, samsara. Through self-inquiry, Atma Vichara, and discrimination between the eternal self and the changing world, individuals can attain self-realization, Atma Jnana, and liberation, moksha, from the cycle of birth and death. Kundalini Yoga, perspective by Swami Sivananda Saraswati. Swami Sivananda Saraswati's teachings focus on the awakening and ascent of Kundalini, the dormant spiritual energy believed to reside at the base of the spine. According to Kundalini Yoga, the human body is a microcosm of the universe, and the awakening of Kundalini represents the union of individual consciousness with the universal consciousness. Through the systematic practice of yoga, including asanas, postures, pranayama, breath control, mantra chanting, meditation, and lifestyle discipline, practitioners gradually purify the body and mind, activate the chakras, and awaken Kundalini. The ascent of Kundalini through the central energy channel, Sushumna, leads to higher states of consciousness, spiritual illumination, and ultimately self-realization. Bhakti Yoga, perspective by Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda's teachings on Bhakti Yoga emphasize the power of love, devotion, and surrender as a means of realizing the divine within oneself. According to Bhakti Yoga, the path to self-realization involves developing an intense and unwavering devotion, bhakti, to a personal deity or the formless absolute. Swami Vivekananda emphasized the true bhakti transcends ritualistic worship and external forms, and it arises from the depths of the heart. Through practices such as prayer, chanting of divine names, kirtan, worship, and service to humanity, devotees cultivate pure love and devotion towards the divine. The culmination of Bhakti Yoga is the direct experience of the union, yoga, with the divine, where the boundaries between the individual self and the universal self dissolve, leading to the realization of one's true nature as pure consciousness. These perspectives from Adi Shankaracharya, Swami Sivananda Saraswati, and Swami Vivekananda represent three distinct paths of self-realization within the rich tapestry of Indian spiritual traditions. Each path offers unique practices, insights, and philosophical frameworks to guide seekers on their journey of self-discovery and ultimate liberation.